I'm Lee Johnson and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would talk about myself really, just to give you some more background, some more in-depth background, leading back about 25 years, 25 years. So I'm going to split it into perspective of business and then magical practices. And where I've been, what I've done, how things have evolved, and why I am at the point I am now, and why I am, I'm going to say teaching, because teaching is what I absolutely love to do. I've always found it my passion, but I've tried in the past to actually get something going, but you know, when you've got a family to feed, and it gets a bit difficult sometimes when you can't drop your career or drop your business, so you have to keep at it, but I think now's the time, so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So my YouTube channel and my Patreon page, where I get more specific into actual teaching and practical examples, demonstrations, instructional videos, things like that. So I don't want to make this too boring and too long, so let's get straight into it. So firstly, business. After I left school, I worked in a factory and got retrenched twice. So that didn't quite work out. So I actually took an aptitude test to find out what I should be doing, because I was completely lost at that stage of my life, absolutely completely lost, as most young people are. I mean, you just come out of school and you're supposed to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. It's ridiculous. It has changed a lot now, which I'm glad about. But anyway, so I went for this aptitude test. I did the test, went back to the results, and the lady sat me down and she pushed across a piece of paper, A4 piece of paper, and it was basically jobs cut into blocks, or blocks of jobs, basically, that you know, depending on what your aptitude results were, you could focus on any jobs within a particular block. So I said, okay, so which one do I belong to? And she said, that's the problem, all of them. So I just picked the one right at the top, and it was draftsperson. So I ended up doing an apprenticeship. I had some friends, or family friend was a director at Lionel Levine Associates, and I did an apprenticeship there for about 2 years. I got paid absolute peanuts, but it was good. It was all I needed, because I actually did enjoy the technical aspect of drafting. So I was doing that for a while, and then I went and studied. So I did interior design, but it focused also on the technical side of things, architecture and whatnot. So it did cover quite a broad perspective of what's involved in the interior design world. I'm going to say interior architect rather than design, because it wasn't about picking colours of a wall or cushion, or you know, what kind of throw to put over your couch or something like that. It was interior architecture mostly, and well, that's the aspect I focused on. And then while I was actually studying, I got a job with one of my lecturers, and I was doing technical drawings for her. She was an interior decorator, but she had some jobs that she needed planning for, so I went in and, you know, did some bits and bobs of freelance work for her. And then from there it continued. I really just freelanced. The problem I did find with freelancing was that at that stage, or that point years back, the policy was basically last in, first out. So if the company hits a bit of a snag and they'd have to let go of people, then, you know, the last person that actually got hired was straight out the door. And I got retrenched a few times. I'll say retrenched. I did have a full-time job at one place, but I can't remember how long, because I was freelancing before, and then they took me on full-time. But I can't remember how long that was. Anyway, digressing, it's not important. So I was in in architecture. I was also doing office planning, shop fitting, all kinds of technical drawing related work. Um, and then the last job I had in that arena, um, I worked for the company freelance again for about 7 years, and I became a senior architect in the company, and that was doing a lot of architectural work, but also office space planning. So interior architecture. You take an office and we would design the reception and the layout for the office, and you'd need drawings for the guys to actually go and construct the drywalls, and there were shop fitting drawings as well for the furniture, any custom furniture, and then the office space planning, which was ergonomics and how to work out the layout of the actual open office and closed office scenario. But we were also doing a lot of architecture, and some of it was converting office blocks in Johannesburg CBD into high-rise apartments, and that was actually quite fun. I enjoyed that. Um, but then the industry just fell flat on its face. Whereas developers could get funding from the banks with no problem because they'd been with them for 20, 30 years, all of a sudden the banks just refused. They weren't giving loans to any of the established developers, and the whole industry just fell flat. And the guy who owned the company I was freelancing for, as I say, for 7 years, he just decided to call us into a meeting one day and told us in 3 weeks' time he's moving to Australia and shutting shop. So that was that. So I'd have a job again. So I carried on with architecture for a while, but then I hit a point where, because the industry was so flat for a period of time, I needed to try and find something that I could do to make money. And I tried everything under the sun. I was publishing books. I was doing my own books, but then I decided, because then self-publishing in South Africa especially wasn't heard of. So I created a really simple site for myself, and I was on Google in position #1 within a couple of weeks, because nobody else in South Africa was doing it. And so what I was trying to attract people who were self-publishing or wanted to self-publish, and then I would print the books and distribute them. So I got the whole thing set up, but it didn't really go too well. One was because I didn't have the actual funds to do it. I didn't have the proper infrastructure, really. I was just trying to do it by myself with as little as I could. And also because self-publishing really wasn't a thing back then, people were quite wary about it. And in fact, it had the stigma of, if you are self-publishing, you're obviously not good enough for a publishing house to publish your books. So a lot of people were kind of steering away from self-publishing. Luckily, it's become a big thing now. A lot of people are self-publishing, which I think is fantastic. Because they get turned away, and it is a hell of a process to try and get published. And they get turned away, and some of them have some incredible material. Just because a publishing house doesn't like it doesn't mean that a specific audience isn't going to like it. But anyway, okay, so let me carry on. So I was doing publishing, I was making meditational videos and DVDs, I was trying to start up an esoteric school. I was just trying to do everything I possibly could to try and make money as quickly as I could to feed my family. It was a point of desperation, basically. But then I got into website development. So I was doing HTML. I was using back then Front Page, which if any developers are watching this, and they're probably just shaking their heads and going, where the hell did you come from? Front Page was not the best software to use for web development. Then I moved over to Dreamweaver and then to Sublime Text. But anyway, so I started getting into web development. I taught myself everything, and I started developing themes for Joomla, or clients who wanted Joomla sites. But then I discovered WordPress, and it was just so much better. It was just, the bee's knees of everything I was looking for. So I actually focused purely on WordPress theme development. And I must say I became quite a guru at it, self-taught and everything, but I think I got it right. I've actually got a client in the UK that I've been doing themes for several years now, so he's happy with me, I'm happy with him, so we continue as we go. And then 4 years ago, it was 4 years ago, I got divorced. My daughter at the time was 17. She was just about to turn 18 in a couple of months, and I got divorced. And then my sister told me, because I was in, people overseas won't know where these places are, but I was in a place called Boxburg, and all of my friends and family were living on the West End, which is about half an hour to 45-minute drive. And I was alone up there. So my sister said to me, why don't you move in with us for a while? My mum was sick and living with them, so I could help out with my mum and just get on my feet, regroup, and just, get back up there. So I moved in with them for a while, for about 9 months, I think it was, 10 months maybe. In that period, my mother passed away, but I got to see her. I got to be with her at the end, so I'm grateful for that. Because we did get quite distanced. I'm not going to go into that. That's some personal stuff. But anyway, she passed away, and one thing my sister kept pushing me toward was educating myself, going on courses, learning new things. And it's something I love doing. I love learning. Oh, that's the other thing. Going back again. At one point, I actually became a lecturer at Innscape College. And that was a job that I really, really loved. Absolutely loved teaching people. The gratitude and the appreciation that I felt when one of the students would say, I actually understand what you're talking about, and I didn't before. And it was just so gratifying, and I love teaching, and I think people have told me I've got this way of being able to communicate and get things across quite easily. So teaching became something I loved and was really passionate about. So let me get back to where I was. I was living with my sister, and then I got my own place. And then I met my girlfriend, who I've been living with for the past 2 years now, 2.5 years. But during that time, oh yes, we were talking about business and careers. Okay, sorry, I'm keep getting off topic here. So she kept pushing me to go and study, go and educate myself and further what I'm doing. So I actually went into digital marketing. So I started looking into that. I started studying digital marketing, and it was about 2 years later that I actually incorporated it into my business. And I've continued with that. And actually, I really, really enjoy online marketing. I like the technical side of things. So with the web development, it was the coding. I love coding. I can design, but I'm not fantastic about it. But the coding was very similar to drafting and doing architectural technical drawings. So I really enjoy coding. So I still do WordPress themes every now and again, well, as much as I can really. But I've started focusing on other things. So then I incorporated the online marketing, and I love stats. There's the technical side, the stats to the whole thing. When you're doing marketing and you see the graph starting to climb because your efforts are actually making a difference. That I really enjoy. So currently, coming back to today, I am doing this, my personal website, and making videos. And then we've also got something called Networking Pro that I'm working on with a partner of mine. That is an online business referral network. So very good for businesses to come and join it. It's very much word of mouth type advertising. But what happens is you get into a group of people, a local group of people, and those people all look after each other, and they try to find business for each other. And obviously, because you're creating personal relationships and trust, it helps a great deal. And the trust is very important, but the relationships as well. People get to know or understand what you do and how you do it, so that when they go out there and talk to other people who actually want your product or service, they know how to actually sell it to them. There's no kind of, but does he do it this way or does he do it that way? And the person goes, I'm not quite sure, I'll have to go back and find out. They know, because they know you personally and they know your business personally, because you've spoken to them about it, you've educated them about it. Because the person who wants the product or service trusts this person who knows you, and because that person has trust in you, the whole trust issue of the sales funnel is kind of bypassed. So it's a way for us to try and help small businesses. Because that's one thing I've always wanted to do as well, is help small businesses. But with online marketing, small businesses don't really have the funds available to actually do proper online marketing. So I find it very difficult to actually provide the service and help small business at the same time. So this was probably one of the best ideas we've ever had. Okay, so that's business-wise, and why I am doing the entrepreneur tier on Patreon. Because on that tier I am doing a lot of instructional videos about how to set up your website, what plugins to use, because I show you how to do it on WordPress, how to get a theme, how to create a child theme if you need to make edits to the theme, how to do it properly without destroying the theme, because if you update the theme, you've made changes in it, all your changes go away. And it's one problem I actually found in a lot of courses I was doing, was that people were suggesting that you take the theme which you've downloaded from WordPress or wherever, Theme Forest if you paid for it, and then actually making changes of a nature that like Google Ads code and the Facebook pixels, taking that code and putting it straight into the header file of your theme. The problem there is people go do that, and then they update the theme, and all of that coding just disappears. It gets written over, and then they don't understand why all of a sudden their Google Ads has just dropped, or their Google Analytics isn't showing anything, and their Facebook pixels isn't picking anything up. They don't understand why, because now they don't know that it actually disappeared. So I want to show everybody, or demonstrate and give instructions about all these things and how to do them correctly. And also how to do your own online marketing. So to help the small business person. That's my aim, just to help the small business person, so you can grow your own business and you can learn how to do it properly. And with online marketing, things change on a daily basis almost. I was watching something just now. This year, 2019, Google has made, I think it was 17,000 changes to their algorithms this year. And now they've got BERT coming in, and voice search is becoming a bigger thing. So there's all these changes happening all the time on online marketing. So I can keep you updated about the recent changes, where you need to adjust, how it's going to affect your SEO and things like that. So that's what that part's about. So now into the magical side of things. Since I was a kid, I've always been interested in the paranormal, like a lot of kids are. I think maybe I was a bit more involved. I mean, when we moved to the country, from England to South Africa, and I was 10, turning 11 when we moved. And I remember when I was 12 years old, I'm an introvert, and I was a very shy kid. so I didn't make friends very easily, and moving over to a new country just, I wasn't good for a long period of time. And my best friend became the library, the public library. So after school every day, I'd walk past, because I'd walk past the library to get home, or to get to the bus to go home. So I'd go to the library, and I remember sitting on the floor reading Lobsang Rampa books, because they had, in the library, they had the whole collection of Lobsang Rampa books, and I would just sit there reading every day. Lobsang Rampa. I love Lobsang Rampa. I've actually got some somewhere. Oh, here. I've got a few here. I'm still trying to collect them, just from the second-hand shops whenever I can get them. So that's Lobsang Rampa. It's just enthralling stuff. It really is. It's, especially as a kid, it was just, wow, it was so cool. It was amazing. So yeah, from an early age, I was interested in stuff, and then I'd say from about 1995 is when I really kicked off my magical practice properly, officially. Let's say officially. I was staying with a friend of mine. His parents had gone away, so I was just helping him house sit. I must have been in my early 20s then. And I remember I got a herb book about medicinal herbs and how to prepare them, what they're used for. And I got a book by Marion Green. I can't remember which book it was, but it was about green magic. And then I also had a book about how to read and see and read the aura. And I remember those three books specifically, very vividly, except for the title of the Marion Green book. And I spent the whole December holiday just reading the stuff and just practicing it. And the first time I actually sat down to create a magic circle was quite an experience, actually. But let me not get into that again. This is going to end up being a really long video. So anyway, continued from there. I kept buying new books, trying to find as much information as I could. You know, you got to remember that back then we didn't have computers in our homes. We didn't have internet. We didn't even have cell phones at that stage. So to try and find the information was quite difficult. I mean, there was a bookstore in Rosebank called Aquarium Bookstore, which was an esoteric bookstore, and I remember going there quite a lot. But otherwise, it would be second-hand shops in their esoteric section. Anyway, so yeah, just carried on from there, and I basically went into so many various different traditions and paths. I think eventually I wasn't sure if I was coming or going. I mean, I got in. I did the Wicca thing, and I got heavily into British traditional witchcraft and the whole Anglo-Saxon and Nordic aspect of it. And I also got into ceremonial magic, Aleister Crowley especially, but I also got into Castaneda's Toltec warrior path and Nagualism, chaos magic, a lot of shamanism, core shamanism. There was a lot of paths that I actually studied and practiced, and tried to bring a lot of it together. The three that stand out the most, apart from chaos magic, because chaos magic's kind of a conglomeration of practices. Give you a quick example. If a chaos magician wants to do a certain spell and the spell working is Kabbalistic in nature, then they will become a Kabbalist for that period of time, and then they will drop that belief. So it's switching beliefs all the time, but when they do a particular spell working, they immerse themselves in that tradition, in that belief, and they become that practitioner. So apart from the chaos magic, which is very strong for me, there was British traditional witchcraft, especially influenced by Robin Artisan. I did get a lot of influence from Robin Artisan. Great guy. Some people love him, some people hate him to the point where they want to kill him. Or used to. I haven't actually followed him for a long time or spoken to him, but he really was a great guy. And then, so British traditional witchcraft, Kabbalah, especially practical Kabbalah, influenced from Jacobus G. Swart. You'll probably hear me talk a lot about him. Absolutely amazing man. And hoodoo, actually. There's something about hoodoo that just draws me, and so it's definitely a big one for me. Anyway, so I was practicing all these different traditions. I was trying to create, I was educating people. I had a weekly get together with some people at one stage, and I was teaching them how to do things, create sigils, how to, I was teaching them practical Kabbalah, meditations, circle casting, everything really. And then I was also trying to create my own tradition. But I got to a point where I think I actually burnt out. There was just so much, and I was trying to pull it all in, and it was stupid, but that's what I was doing, and I think I actually just burnt out. But the other problem was I was focusing so much on that the other areas of my life were falling down. My career, my family. So I needed to pull away. I was saying on a post on on the community the other day that we used to call it returning to the hearth fire, because in your long houses, the hearth fire would be in the centre, and the whole community would be in the longhouse, and you'd return to the hearth fire after going and hunting and gathering and whatever it may be, and this same thing, you need to pull away and draw back and regroup, and so you return to the hearth fire, and that lasted several years. I needed to focus on business. I needed to build my business up. I needed to sort things out with myself, and that whole period has become. It was the dark night of the soul, definitely the dark night of the soul for me, and in that time I got divorced. But especially from that point, it's been a healing process, and I've been coming out of the dark night of the soul, and I am now. I think I'm out. I might just be at the end of it, and might be some left. You know how these things work; they kind of catch up on you after a while when you think it's all done and finished and whatnot. So that was my dark night of the soul, and I believe, at the end of it or out of it now. So that's why I'm coming back to my practices. I'm coming back to the things I enjoy, the things I love doing, which is educating people and helping people, guiding really. I wouldn't say I don't really want to call it education. I want to call it guidance. I'm not educating people. People have to educate themselves. All I can do is show you the way, and if you think I'm talking a load of crap, that's fine. Don't listen to anything I say. Go and listen to somebody else. You've got to find your own way, and you've got to find the people that resonate with you. If I don't, that's okay. Just go and find somebody who you do resonate with, so that you can actually learn and get that guidance from them. And I'm going to end it. This is on 30 minutes now, or 30-ish minutes, coming up to 30 minutes. Just trying to think if there's anything else I just wanted to mention. Yeah, so I think with this channel, I'll probably end up talking about a lot of things, including Wicca and traditional witchcraft, and shamanism and Toltec warrior paths and ceremonial magic and practical Kabbalah, and comparing them and seeing where the strongest things lie. And I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos and stuff, and you'll probably pick this up from my last video. They're great people. I can't complain about the people, but there's some things that maybe I'm just old school, and maybe I'm just an old fart. Things have changed a lot. I've got to say, things have changed a hell of a lot in the magical communities. I was watching a video today. It was a list of all the different types of witch, and it was a 20-minute video. I was in 5 minutes, and I think there were already like 10 or 15 different types of witches, and I'm like, what? I mean, back in my day, people had a problem with titles. That was the other thing. What do I identify as? I don't. I'm not a witch. I'm not a magician. I'm not a shaman. I'm not. I guess you could call me a chaos or a chaos magician, because I guess that's where all of this comes in. But I don't identify as anything. I just don't identify as myself. I don't like labels. I don't like titles. I think they limit you quite a bit. And although it's nice to be within confines sometimes, so that you know how to plan, where to go and what to do, I did find a lot of people in the past, previously, they got stuck in their ways and they wouldn't listen. If somebody came along and told them the way they're explaining something isn't quite right, or even history, factual history, they'd get their factual history wrong, and somebody would come along and say, no, hang on a minute, this is what the history books say. And they would just say, I'm sorry, I'm right, you're wrong, and that's the way it is. I mean, we had one person who was carrying on about he's dating the 5th incarnation of the goddess Diana. She was born in Cornwall. And it was just mind-blowing what some people actually believe. And I don't know. I guess you can't really do anything about it, but you know, if people are out there trying to educate people and they're getting certain things wrong, little facts and stuff, then I do want to try and steer, everybody back to what it should be. If I know what it is, I do feel I do come across as a know-it-all sometimes. So if you do find that I am doing that, or you feel I'm doing that, please just give me a kick up the arse. I hate doing it. I hate sounding like that. I just feel like I do, because I definitely don't know it all. 25 years of practice, I still have only touched the tip of the iceberg. Or not even the tip, or just about that much of that much. I definitely don't know it all. I know very little, considering what's actually available and what's out there. So if I do come across like that, just as I say, just give me a slap or kick up the arse, or just moan at me, shout at me, whatever it may be. I'm going to leave it here now, otherwise this video is going to be way too long and way too boring. And please like, share and subscribe if you're watching this on my YouTube channel. I need the support. There's a new channel and I need to get up and running properly. And this will also obviously be on a podcast. And yes, and please go and check out my Patreon page if you want to know more about the advanced practices, how to do them, things like that, and also the business side of things. In the business side of things, I'm also bringing manifestation techniques in for the business person, meditation, manifestation, things like that, but specifically for the business person. And then I'll go into the magical aspects, the more advanced stuff for the magical people. And if you want to do both, you can, no problem. So go check out my Patreon page. It's Lee W. Johnson on patreon.com. And I'm going to cut it here. Thank you very much, and I'll see you shortly. Cheers.